So everything is ready. Here we go for the Austin Grand Prix. I'm really sorry I wasn't able to commentate last time because I crashed. I had a car accident. It wasn't a serious car accident, but it took me some time to get back home. And I'm really sorry because Japan is one of the most iconic races during the season. So it wasn't the race that I wanted to miss. But things happen. Now let's focus on Austin, and it has to be said that Alpamut K has already won the pole trophy. Something weird was going on there. There was some kind of misunderstanding because they nearly crashed at the pit lane exit. It was Spike has already retired from the session. So there is only one Red Bull car left on track. I enabled the track map, the full track map. We also have the Ferrari on track with Hughes moves. Crossdale has been missing a few races lately. So we have Marain on track on his outlap, then Liverpool, then Alpamut K, Orb King, Lucas still in the pits. Then we have also Matt on track on his outlap. So there is quite a few drivers on track already. Now Liverpool is about to start his qualifying lap for Red Bull. The elevation change is very dramatic here at turn 1. I'm not sure what kind of camera Liverpool is using, but it's very difficult to nail the apex when you're using the realistic, how do you say it, the cockpit view, because the elevation change is very strong and you can't see the apex, so it's very difficult to get turn 1 right. Liverpool locks up. DRS zone, there is Matt, I think it's Matt right behind of Liverpool on track. And I think Liverpool has is slowing down. Yes, Liverpool is slowing down, and Matt got past, and it was lucky for Matt because Matt was on his flying lap, so Liverpool didn't cause any issues. Matt is about to finish his qualifying lap because he is in the final part of the track. One corner left. Let's see what lap time Matt sets, and Matt already takes the lead. We also need to wait for Alpamut K. Alpamut K is on track as well, and he is about to finish his lap. Ragge in second place. Alpamut K betters Matt's performance, and Alpamut K goes up in first place. So Alpamut K, Matt, Ragge 2005, and Orb King already on soft tires, and Orb King right behind the 2 stars of the league. Alpamut K, Matt, Orb King, then Ragge 2005. Only these 5 drivers have completed a lap at the moment. Now Hughes Moose also completed the qualifying lap, and it's sixth. It's sixth, not very quick. We have Bryzy, then Jimmy James, also the two Renault drivers. The two Renault drivers. This is where you can use DRS, and it's where most of the overtakes happen in the race. It's a track where it's not very hard to get past if you are quicker than the driver in front, but this is the best place for overtakes at Austin. Bryzy now very strong understeer. He nearly drifted out of that corner. This is very similar to turn 8 at Turkey. Bryzy on the final corner, and he decides to drive back to the pits. Probably felt that it wasn't a quick lap, and Bryzy is out of qualifying, is out of the session. Bryzy crashed into the wall. It was a pretty clumsy mistake. We're riding on board with Jimmy James now in 6th place. He missed the apex at turn 1, locked up, if I'm not mistaken. There is only 40 seconds left. He won't get another attempt. Alpmut K, Matt, Lucas, LA, Orbeking, Liverpool, Jimmy James another lockup, but he kept a good racing line, and Alpmut K gets even better. Alpmut K gets even better. I don't think that anyone is going to steal pole position from Alpmut K. Alpmut K improved his lap time a few seconds ago. Jimmy James is really struggling. He's locking up everywhere. I think he should enable his ABS if he is not able to drive without aids. Jimmy James on the final corner. Very strong understeer, and I think he improved his lap, if I'm not mistaken, but it wasn't enough. So Jimmy James finishes in 6th place, and Matt retires from the session. Matt retires from the session, so it's Alpmut K. Alpmut K completes another lap, and very strong performance, because he is almost he's basically half a second faster than Matt. Very dominant qualifying, and Alpmut K really has been strong in qualifying this year. Nearly 6 tenths. So this is the moment we always wait for. The formation lap has been completed. The lights are beginning to come on. Only Alpmut K and Matt are realistically in the title fight. Let's see. Alpmut K, I think Alpmut K didn't really get a decent start, and Alpmut K wheel to wheel with Matt, but Matt takes 1st place, and I saw some pieces flying around, but I was focusing on Alpmut K and Matt. Now we can see if someone has issues. I think Bryzy is struggling with his Renault, and yes, indeed, Bryzy is already struggling, because he probably is lacking half the wing. Bryzy now down in 10th place. There is the other Haas all over his back. Ragge down in last place. Brycey has a 3-second time penalty, and indeed you can see it clearly now. Brycey has a very damaged front wing, so Brycey needs to pit, and he probably will. In the meanwhile, Matt in the lead with a very solid start, got past Alpmutke. No need to say that Alpmutke is not starts are not Alpmutke's main strength, and we already know that. Everyone knows that. So when Alpmutke is on pole, he always struggles to keep the lead. Now Brycey back to the pits, and he goes for medium tires. Brycey leaving the garage on medium tires. Matt Alpmutke, now the graphics starting to have that glitch which lasts a few seconds on the second lap. Then everything will go back to normal. I think it has already gone back to normal. Yes, because Matt in the lead, then Alpmutke, then Lucas LA, Orb King up in 4th. There is a fight going on. It's Mart des Merpus against Scaife. Mart des Merpus locks up but manages to keep the car in front of Scaife. Then Hughes moves. I think Hughes moves was involved in some collision at the start, because I also saw a red piece flying around. Now Hughes moves under pressure from Spike. Hughes moves leaves the track, and probably got a warning for that. Now Hughes moves driving a very defensive line. I think Hughes moves should pit, because he is all over the place. Spike gets very close at turn 1, because Hughes moves missed the apex. 3-second time penalty for Spike, because he cuts the corner, and he already had the 2 warnings. So he's driving on the limits if he already had 2 warnings in the first 2 laps. But Scaife all over the back of Hughes moves. Gets very close now. Spike will surely be able to use DRS to open DRS. Let's see if Hughes moves can defend, because Spike is very close at the start of the activation zone, and the Spike gets past very easily. Spike completes the overtake. Now Hughes moves will be put under pressure from the drivers behind as well. By the drivers behind as well. Because Mart des Merpus is already very close to Hughes moves. Hughes moves probably thinks that he is losing less time on track than the amount of time he would lose if he pitted. But I think he's mistaken. Matt spins, and Matt is down in 5th place. Very surprising moment, because the leader lost control. I think there was no collision, because I was looking at the standings, and Matt had a solid advantage over Alpmutke. So I'm pretty sure that Matt made a mistake and spun. So now Alpmutke in the lead with a solid advantage over Lucas LA, and I'm afraid that Matt might have gifted Alpmutke the win here. Now Matt down in 5th place. He can see the group, the pack ahead of him. but he really has given Alpmut K a very strong advantage over himself. So let's see if Matt has the pace to get closer to Alpmut K again, but I am afraid that it will be pretty difficult for him. Alpmut K also sets fastest lap. It's beginning of 5th lap. Matt down in 5th. Now Scaife is already also close to Hughes Moose, and like I was saying before, Hughes Moose really all over the place. Can't even keep the correct racing line at turn 8. Scaife visibly faster than Hughes Moose. Now I think Scaife will get past, and indeed Scaife gets past Hughes Moose, really struggling, losing every position. Now Lucas L.A. pitted and joined right ahead of Hughes Moose. Scaife under pressure. He made a mistake, and Lucas L.A. gets past, very nearly collided. They nearly came together, but Lucas managed to complete the overtake. Scaife made a mistake there. And Alpmut K also, let's focus on Alpmut K here, because Alpmut K is back to the pits, and Alpmut K goes for medium tires. Matt in the lead, but he will have to stop. So let's see where Alpmut K ends up. Alpmut K is in 4th place, ahead of Jimmy James. Then Liverpool ahead of Jimmy James and Matt the Smurpoos. Matt the Smurpoos in 7th place. Spike also leaving the pit lane in 10th. Matt Orbeking. Then Alpmut K down in 4th, but the drivers ahead of him haven't pitted yet, so he will be waiting for them to pit. Orbeking, the moment we were waiting for. Orbeking back to the pits, and he goes for medium tires as well. It's probably the best strategy because it's the strategy everyone is going for. And Orbeking rejoins in 6th place on medium tires. So Alpmut K back to the lead. Ahead of Jimmy James. Then Matt is very far from Alpmut K. Like I was saying before, Matt really gave Alpmut K a huge advantage when he made that clumsy mistake. And now Alpmut K is leading Matt by, let me do the maths, by the gap is always changing, but it's basically 7 tenths, about 7 seconds I meant. So Alpmut K, Jimmy James, Matt, Lucas L.A., Mart the Smerpoos, Orbeking. This is pretty unusual, because Orbeking is always very careful with the track limits. He likes he usually gains some positions at the end of the race because he is smart and he tries very hard to avoid penalties. But this time Orbeking also has a penalty, so he will have to overtake the cars on track if he wants to gain some other positions. Matt the Smurpus pitting. Everyone, literally everyone, going for the same kind of strategy, because Matt the Smurpus also chooses medium tires and now rejoins in 9th place. Alpamut K extending his lead because he is leading by yes, 6 seconds. Yes, it's 6 seconds. It's very hard to read the numbers on the small screen when I'm commentating. It's 6 seconds, and Jimmy James has never been as fast as Alpamut K, so the gap is going to be even bigger lap after lap. This is Alpamut K. That mistake that Matt made the race very easy for Alpamut K. He of course needs to keep it clean, but it's been a very easy race for him since Matt made that mistake. We're still watching Alpamut K. He is basically alone on track. Now Jimmy James is 7 seconds behind of him. We can't even see him on the screen because he is very far on track. You can see him on the map. Oh, and another difficult moment for Matt because he nearly lost control. Matt nearly lost control. Now Matt will be trying to put Jimmy James under pressure on the 14th lap. Lap number 14. Matt getting closer and closer to Jimmy James, but Jimmy James is pretty quick, so it won't be easy for Matt to overtake Jimmy James. Of course, Matt is quicker than Jimmy James, but Jimmy James, like I said before, is pretty quick, so he isn't easy to overtake. Very similar line for both drivers. Matt getting very closer now. This is Lucas LA. He hasn't been involved in any epic fights at the moment. He is driving pretty comfortably in 4th place and is 2 seconds and 5 tenths ahead of Orbe King. Now Matt trying to get past. It looks like Matt is starting to lose his patience. He was trying to overtake Jimmy James at the S's, but it's pretty difficult to overtake there unless the driver ahead of you makes a mistake, which wasn't the case. Now Matt can use DRS. Matt was very close at the beginning of the straight, so I guess that Matt might have a chance to complete the move. Matt dives on the inside, and Jimmy James didn't try to defend too hard because he probably knows that Matt was going to get past anyway pretty soon. So Jimmy James probably focusing on his own race. Now we are watching Marin, Dutch driver. First race for him in the Dynamic Racing League. Pretty solid 6th place behind of Orbe King, and he is now basically alone on track because he's very far from Orbe King, but he also has a pretty solid advantage over Ragge. So he is probably waiting for the race to end because there's not much he can do Now Spike in 10th place. So Jimmy James all over the back of Ma Rain. He pitted, and Jimmy James pitted, and now he is on soft tires. Of course, I can't keep everyone's strategy. I can't keep an eye on everyone, so I can't know what everyone is doing. Jimmy James probably pitted very early, and now he decided to switch back to the soft tires, and now he's going to be very fast, and indeed he gets past. So Jimmy James up again in 5th place, and now he is 9 seconds away from Orbeking. Orbeking also very close to Lucas LA, so there might be some fight going on very soon. Jimmy James is 9 seconds away from Orbeking, and there is only 7 laps left. I'm not sure whether Jimmy James has the pace to catch Orbeking. It's going to be difficult because Jimmy James just pitted, and now his soft tires are at their peak performance. So the performance of his tires will start to go down very quickly, because that's how the soft tires work. You saw Orbeking there for a second all over the back of Lucas on the screen, but he's very far, so it's going to be very difficult for him to catch Orbeking and overtake him. And I wasn't watching. Orbeking probably was involved in some collision with Lucas LA, because now I'll show you. Orbeking set 1:39 seconds on the previous lap, and the Lucas LA is pitting. I was saying before there was probably going to be a fight, and probably this is what happened, because Lucas LA is pitting and having his front wing changed, and Orbeking lost many seconds. So I'm almost sure that there was some accident, some collision. It's the only logical explanation. So Orbeking probably involved, almost definitely involved in a collision with Lucas LA, and now Orbeking is down in 4th place, and Jimmy James gains the podium. He probably wasn't going to finish on the podium because Orbeking was very far from him, but what happened changed everything. Now I don't think that Orbeking can possibly get his third place back. Yellow flag in sector 3, and there is a crash. Matthias Merpus just driving past Marin's car. He probably spun because he ended up on the opposite wall from the racing line. I have a cough, but I don't have COVID. But I have had a cold lately. Jimmy James keeping 3rd place. That crash didn't cause any safety car, so there was no weird outcome. Matt, like I said, like I predicted, Matt gave Alpmut K a very strong advantage, and Alpmut K, it was like a walk in the park for Alpmut K after Matt made that mistake, made the race very easy for Alpmut K. He didn't really have a challenge, but of course congrats to Alpmut K for keeping it clean. And Matt gifted Alpmut K the win. And now Alpmut K is leading by 19 points. Yes, 19 points. Alpmut K is leading the championship by 19 points, and there is not many races left. We are getting closer and closer to the end of the championship. There is only 3 races left. It's Mexico, then Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. So Alpmut K really starting to put his fingers on the title. Of course, we can't, nothing is certain yet, because you can lose 19 points in just one race. But Alpmut K is really starting to have a pretty solid advantage, a pretty solid lead, with only 3 races left. So I hope you enjoyed the commentary, and see you again, like I said, in Mexico for the next round race.